In this video, we will take a look at flow control in action, where we will process some data and print the results. Let's head over to PyScripter. I want you to open up flow control in action.py from the controlling flow folder in the reference folder in the Python scripts. Here I've created a dictionary called countries, and each key in this dictionary is an integer that represents an object ID. We have 10 entries. Each value is another dictionary that contains the key name, population and area. The population and area are taken from worldometers.info. For our workflow, we want to calculate the population density and then create a list that contains lists of the name of the country and the population density sorted from the lowest population density to the highest population density. So let's walk through this. We're first going to create an empty dictionary that is going to store the country name as the key and the population density as a value. For each entry in our countries dictionary, there are 10. We're going to take a more in-depth look at iterating over our data in the next section. For a dictionary, we are going to access the key and value pairs through variables, and we need to use the items method for a dictionary. Object ID would be the key, so 1 to 10, and our attributes would be our inner dictionaries. We're going to populate our empty dictionary by supplying in the name of the country as the key. So here we are getting attributes. Attributes is the value in our counties dictionary, and we're accessing the property name. So it's going to be Ireland, France, Canada, and so on. And we're going to set the value for each entry in our population density dictionary to be the population divided by the area, and we're going to round that down to 2 decimal places, and we'll print the population density dictionary to screen. So let's run that to see how it looks. We see we have the population density for all our countries. We'll comment out the printing of our population density dictionary, and we'll remove the triple quotes commenting out the rest of our script. We now have a dictionary containing the country name and the population density. We're going to create a list that will store lists that contain the country name and the population density. And we're going to populate it with the entries based on the lowest population density to the highest. So what this is going to look like is a list containing lists where we'd have Ireland, Ireland's population density, and then the next France. But these inner nested lists would be sorted from the lowest population density to the highest. We're going to store it in this sorted pop density list. I'm going to copy over our population density from the printout. Comment that out. I just want to make it visible for us to see the entries. We're going to iterate through this dictionary. So for each country name and population density value in our dictionary, country will be the variable for the country name and density will be the variable for the density value. If not sorted pop density, so if our sorted pop density list is empty, we are simply going to append in the first list, which will be Ireland and 71.86. None of the rest of the code below will be ran because this if statement on this iteration for Ireland was true at this point. We then move on to France. This time this if statement is false, so we move on to the elif. Sort pop density returns true because there's one entry in there, and the length of the sorted pop density is equal to 1. There is one entry in there. Now we need to check if the population density of France is greater than or less than that of Ireland. We can see here that it is greater than. If the density is less than the first entry, we need to insert it into the start of our list. This would shift France in front of Ireland. But because France is greater than, this if statement here is going to return false, and it will move on to the else, where we are simply appending it to the end of our list. Now we have two entries in our list. We have Ireland and France in that order. It then moves on to Canada, and we can see that Canada is the lowest value of the entry so far. So this needs to be placed at the start of the list. Now Canada is our country and our density is 3.78. The first if and elif does not apply. So we kick into the else as the above are false. We'll set a variable called index to be the length of the current list. This is kind of a placeholder for where the next country is going to be inserted. We're then going to iterate through the current sorted list using range and the length of the sorted list itself. If the density at the current index is greater than the density that we are checking, so we are checking Canada 3.78, is going to be checked against Ireland. If it is greater, we set the index to be the current index and we break. This will allow us to insert Canada into the list. We first hit Ireland, which does have a population density greater than that of Canada. So our index is set to 0. We break out of the for loop. We're then going to print the index, which will be 0, and the country in this case, which will be Canada. And we'll insert Canada at index 0. So now our lists are going to be Canada, Ireland, France. Our iteration will then move on to Fiji and find where that goes in the current list. Laos, Switzerland, Mexico, Bolivia, Morocco and Qatar, and place these in our list sorted by our population density. We will then iterate through our population density list and we'll print each list to screen to see that the sorting has been performed on our list. Let's run our script. We know already that Canada got inserted at 0. When it was Fiji's turn, it got inserted at index 1. Laos then came along and got inserted at the start of the list in front of Canada. And we can see why, because Laos has a population density of 3.22, where Canada is 3.78. Switzerland got inserted at 5, Mexico at 3, Bolivia at 2, Morocco at 6, and Qatar at 9. With each insert, whatever list was currently occupying that index is pushed to the right. And we can see our list of countries and population densities sorted by population density in ascending order. In this video, we saw controlling flow in action with a specified workflow. We had a dictionary that resembled data from a shapefile or a feature class where we had an object ID and then the attributes of each feature as a dictionary. We processed some of that data to get the population density of each country. We then did a further process on that extracted data to get a list of our countries by population density in ascending order.